Welcome to our Jackson home, Front Porch Discussions without the front porch. I'm here on the board with my partner, Luke Pruitt, and we're at a special place this podcast. We're here at the Co. in Jackson, Tennessee, and for our first guest, we're going to have several people from the Co. today. Our first guest is Ben Ferguson, who is the CEO?
Yeah, that's correct.
CEO of the Co. That just rolls off the tongue, man. Now, you're quoted as saying, when I was doing research on you, I found an interview where you were quoted as saying, inside the Co, imagination takes over for the entrepreneur who has access to a makerspace where anybody who desires to make, invent, or tinker can accomplish their goals. Now, tell us a bit about your history in business, the origins of the Co, and how the collaborative process helps entrepreneurs.
Sure. So I guess my background, I'm kind of a third-generation entrepreneur. My grandfather, my father, and now myself all have either owned or run businesses in the Jackson area. And so I guess it's something that's in my blood to some degree. And something I always wanted to do growing up was to be in some kind of business management or own my own company. And just kind of those things have aligned, and I've been able to pursue that. And so I currently, my day job is I'm president of personnel placements. We're a staffing firm located here in Jackson, have locations throughout Tennessee, and last year put about 7,000 Tennesseans to work. So that's what I do in the day. I really enjoy it, and but at the same time, I think being a young person that was in entrepreneurship, in business management, I didn't feel like there were a lot of resources out there that I could share conversations with or find peers that were in the same kind of situation that I was, and have always been very involved with the chamber and very proud of the work that they do, and but also wanted to find some peers in a network that I could have similar conversations about what I was facing. And so that started with the lunch group, and that evolved into the co-founders of the Co. And so you'll meet probably William and Ben. We also had Drew Ermick and Barrett Gay that were in those initial lunch groups, and having conversations all across the board, whether it was tech or innovation or things going on in Jackson. That's where the kind of the seed of this was laid. And so we got to speaking and talking and came across the Entrepreneur Development Center a few years back. And at the time, it was a early stage venture, and they were working through kind of what it needed to be. And we had some ideas. We shared that with the board, and then this past April, the board came back to us and asked us if we were ready to kind of work off that vision. And so with their help, a little bit of funding from the state, and then myself, William Donnell, Ben Harris, Barrett Gay, and Drew Ermick, we kind of launched down this path of what you have today as the Co.
So, Ben, you're also president of Personnel Placements, which is a staffing agency here in Jackson. What are kind of the similarities as you think about increasing the economic strength of the region between your work there and what you're doing at the Co? And speak a little bit more to the team that you've built here at the Co and kind of the strengths they play and long-term where you see the Co going.
Sure. So I think similarities, the first one that stands out to me on both sides is there's just, I work with excellent people. I mean, there's outstanding teams at both Personnel Placements and the Co. I feel like I'm the short man on the totem pole, and there's so many smarter, better, and talented people in both organizations that I just kind of stand back and let them do the work a lot of times. But I think from an economic development standpoint, I think it comes down to helping good companies, good ideas, and good people come together. And I think both in the staffing business and in the Co, that's essentially what we do, is we bring the tools, the talent, and the ideas together so that those things can all grow effectively together.
We'll talk a little bit more in the podcast about specifically things you can do in the Co and places within this space, but what are some of the cool toys you've been able to play with and bring in, and how do you see them contributing to the economic environment here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know about contributing to the economic environment, but we've gotten very dangerous with a couple of cool toys. And so I think the ones that are most often used here, we've got a CO2 laser. And for anybody that's never used that before, it'll cut, it'll etch on a lot of different materials and allow you to take kind of a digital image and imprint that or cut it out of a lot of different materials, whether it's wood or acrylic or other things. The other things that get used quite a bit are the 3D printers, and so we've got 4 of those here, and they print typically in ABS plastic, which is a pretty durable plastic, but you'll see folks printing anything from kind of repair kits for their kids' toys all the way up to functional prototypes of products that are being sold on the internet. So those are some of the initial ones. We've also got what's called an Oculus Rift. If you've never tried that, you've got to do it before you leave. But it's kind of a virtual reality goggle set, so that you can take, in typical fashion, if you were looking at an image on your computer, you can only see it in that one frame right there on the computer. With the Oculus Rift, if you tilt your head back, the view goes up and you see a whole new landscape. If you go sideways, you see what's beside you. And it's really interesting to see what that will hold for the future. We also have some drones here that a lot of folks have gotten into, so we've got a couple of quadcopters and a few Phantom 2s that people can play with. So
I just crashed one of those quad choppers, so I was with Ben Harris. Actually, it was one of the smaller ones, so he said it wasn't as expensive. They're amazing, really cool.
It's pretty funny. So Harris is the only actual certified commercial pilot in the Co., and he's been the first one to wreck basically every quad that we've got. So I just want to get that on record, and so it is out there for the universe now.
Now, when you're in personnel placements, when you're working with them, you're helping match people to jobs. And when we're here, you're helping people that are entrepreneurs make new opportunities for economic growth. What do you do to unwind?
So, time with family is my thing. And so I've got 2 daughters, Elena and Holland. They're 4 and 2 respectively. And I don't know about unwinding, but they take up the balance of my time after personnel placements in the Co. And they're a lot of fun, and so that's usually where I spend my off hours.
So speaking of family, our project has been dubbed Our Jackson Home, and we want to be a podcast and leader in speaking of the good things happening in our community, both verbally and with stories on our website. What about growing up in Jackson of old have you loved about being here, and where do you see kind of the future of our city going? Why do you think, if you were pitching to an investor, why Jackson is an environment to be a part of and to jump on? What are the qualities that you see here?
Gosh, that's a great question. And so I think for me, I was born and raised in Jackson, had the opportunity to move off and live in some other markets, larger markets, and ended up back here. And this is home for me. And I think the things I love about Jackson, it's a lot of the intangibles, but I have a 3-minute commute to work every day. I have, if I need to get my car fixed, if I need to go to the dentist, I can go do those things. And at the same time, I have access to all of, major market amenities. Those are things that you don't find in real small markets. But I think when you boil it all down, I think Jackson's, small enough to matter, but at the same time, large enough to do all the other things you want. And you can just plug in such a way here that you can't in other cities. So, if there's things about Jackson you don't like, you just get plugged in and change it. And that's the awesome thing about Jackson is that if you're interested in a certain aspect of our community, all you have to do is get involved and show interest, and you can have input in the process. And there's not a lot of places you can do that.
Ben is one of the bright spots in Jackson that is leading the way. And if you have interest in creatively expanding your business, thinking through ways in which you as a person can become an entrepreneur and engage in the arts or in creativity or in business growth, the Co. is the place for you. And so we're so thankful for you leading the way here. And thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Glad to have you here.
You're listening to Our Jackson Home, and we're here at the Co. in Jackson, Tennessee with a couple of great guests. Gentlemen, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us what you do?
Yeah, I'm William Donnell. I am one of the co-founders here at the Co., and I also run an interaction design company called Sodium Halogen.
My name's Dan Drogosh. I am the media and facilities manager here at the Co., and I keep people happy and make sure our members are getting everything they need.
That is awesome. Well, Jim and I and the entire Our Jackson Home team are such a huge fan of the Co. and what you're doing to stir up imaginative ideas and community and business here. So kind of both of you elaborate on what you see the role of the Co being in our city, and day-to-day wise, where you see your role kind of growing and being.
Yeah, I think we're kind of the instigator and then also the facilitator. So a lot of people ask the question, what does the Co stand for? What does the Co part of it stand for? And I think it stands for a lot of stuff, for collaboration, for community, and then some of the other stuff like code is part of it. But I think that the biggest thing really is collaboration. We want to bring lots of different people together and have a space where they can get to know one another, people that are from entrepreneurs to coders to the creative community, or people that are makers that want to mess with some of the cool tools that we have in what used to be the kitchen here.
Very cool. And we are in the old, what's the history of this building?
Yeah, it used to be Madison's Restaurant for a long, way before that it was the Ribeye Barn. And then it became Madison's Restaurant for years and years. A lot of people knew it as that. And then most recently it was Coyote Blues. And then Coyote Blues has moved across the interstate. And then this building was donated to us. And so we've turned it into, we think, something cool.
It is extremely cool. And Dan, you do a lot of the managing the flow of the day-to-day life in the space here. Kind of walk us through the building and the options people have for doing things here.
Well, I think the neat part about my position here is I really do get a chance to meet so many different people from different backgrounds, various degrees and career choices, and that's really interesting to see. What I like to tell people is that the Co in my mind is a place that I'd love for people to know that they can go there to meet someone new, make something new, or learn something new. I love saying that because you really can't find a place anywhere else like that here in Jackson, where it's like, oh, I got a workshop here that can teach me how to make better photos, or I got to go meet someone here to learn more about marketing or how to develop a website. It's all right here under the same roof, and that to me is extremely special. And more about what I do personally, I'm here as a great support. People are starting businesses, and that's tough. It's hard. I love to give encouragement every day, make sure they're staying on their own tasks as well as myself. But I just love meeting people and introducing themselves to people that could possibly help them along the way, and I'm here for that.
And physically, the space here, you kind of enter, and there's a general meeting area space where you can kind of hang out, and then individual workspaces that you can pay for subscriptions with associated.
Correct. Yeah, we do have a nice. It's open, but there's different sections. The first place you do see is kind of an open and collaborative workspace where I always say it's like Starbucks. People come and go, bring laptops, and get their work done or meet someone. We also have dedicated working space, which is a little more reserved for people who pay a premium. And then in the back, we've got our maker space, which is extremely unique and gives you a chance to get dirty and get messy and create something new.
And then in the back, where we're actually meeting right now, is several really cool conference rooms. I'm going to argue some of the coolest conference rooms in Jackson, if not the. And then in the very back is a really large meeting space that can be rented out and has a lot of cool tech toys. William, Dan kind of mentioned there's people starting businesses here, and you're not only a co-founder and part of the creative leadership team here, but you actually have a business of your own known as Sodium Halogen. Is that right? And do some work out of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So 13 years ago, Sodium Halogen started as just me, and now we're a team of 7, but we're actually located across all 4 time zones in the United States, which is kind of unique, weird. I don't know. Choose your adjective that's there. And then we do work for clients all over the United States. Really, only about 15 to maybe 20% of what we do would be within West Tennessee. So,
now William is the lead designist for Sodium Halogen, and Dan is a musical artist. He's a guitarist for a band called Mutual Live. How do you guys coincide the blending of art and science and art and entrepreneurship? And those are a lot of things that don't seem to go together, but they kind of complement each other, don't they?
That is a great question. Balancing work life and the artistic life, so to say, I think it's necessary to enjoy what you do, meanwhile make a living at the same time. Because it's tough to make a living enjoying what you do. For most people, it is kind of the artsy side of their personalities that tend to not really bring in money as well as the more stiff career side of them, as you would say. But I enjoy it. I think it's a great balance. I need it in my life. As long as as much as I do love making music, today it's just not making the money that it used to for artists. But taking the business side of me and trying to apply it to the artistic side of me is working, actually. And it's been amazing. The 2 years I've been down here in Jackson, moving from Michigan with just a pipe dream of doing well in the music industry. We've had some things go our way and go extremely well for us, which I'd be happy to explain and share later if we have time.
Yeah, definitely. And Jim, within his question, mentioned specifically that phrase "design plus science," and that's something on the Sodium Halogen website. If you go there, you immediately interact with. Speak to something we wrestle with is how do you make the technological era beautiful? Because functionality seems to have grown, but I don't know if production always comes with that, which seems to put you in a conundrum. And so my interaction with technology can often be, how do I become more productive? But I also don't want to eliminate beauty from my daily existence just because it's not a direct nature inhabitants. So how do you, as a designer, as someone who wants to work with businesses, merge science and beauty design?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs, who said, "Design is the way the thing works." So it's a lot of times people think that design is this slick veneer that goes on the outside, and I really kind of reject that notion completely. I think that if you have something that has a great design, then that means that it works really well. And so we try to focus on making something, and this is bad grammar, my mom would be upset about this, but I say it intentionally. We try to focus on making something work good, then we make it look good. So it's not that aesthetics are not important, but if you have something that is beautiful but doesn't work well, then things that bring to mind are like the DeLorean, which is a beautiful piece of art with four wheels, but it's also kind of a lemon. And then the other analogy that I use that's less appropriate, I guess, now is Anna Kournikova. She really looks good but doesn't win much.
Sure. Tennis reference. That was nice. I want to get into talking to both of you about music. Dan's got some cool things happening with his band, and William has kind of a fascinating musical past, and today released a video via the old Twitter machine that was awesome. It shows off his musical skills, so you can speak to that. But first, we have our first three tweeted questions of the day. So either of you can take this. So the first one's from Ken Litcher, and he says, "Can Jackson reinvent itself the way Chattanooga has? Should we?" This is kind of a personal question for me. My parents lived in Chattanooga in the early 1980s, and they just think of it as a lemon. You know, it was kind of a strip mall city at that time, and today it's changed into this massive tech hub that's really taking advantage of 21st century business models. And so, do y'all see as kind of leaders in technological business thinking, us being able to adapt some of the things that they've been able to do?
I love answering this question because I do have a little bit different outsider perspective, as most do here in Jackson. Being from Michigan, I have heard nothing but bad things about Detroit. And I look at Detroit and I look at Jackson, and they're in similar places to me. Yet Jackson has a little bit less press recently. But Detroit is actually on the comeback. Believe it or not, there is so many cool things happening in downtown Detroit that don't ever make the big news headlines, but they will be shortly. And I see nothing but opportunity for Jackson as well. It just takes the right mindset and people believing in their own city. You know, when I first moved to Jackson, everyone asked me, "Well, why'd you move to Jackson?" And they said it in such a, I want to say, condescending way that it made me really not feel welcome, even though they should be, repping their city. Because when you go to Detroit, you meet someone from Detroit, they're like, "Yeah, man, it's Detroit, it's D-Town." They want you to be there. They want you to feel inspired and belong. But, Jackson has the same amount of opportunity as Detroit. It just takes the right people, and I think the Co is a step in that right direction. And it's totally what people make of it themselves. We're not going to be the ones that are changing the landscape, but the people that are a part of the Co could very possibly be those people that do change the landscape.
I think you just hit a home run, and that's we're kind of titling this series the Institution Series and the Energy Starters of Jackson. We feel like this is a huge turning point era in the history of our city, and that West Tennessee needs to have a bit of a chip on its shoulder during this era, that there are really special people and things here, and we need to push forward with it. A recent Union University graduate who's a friend of mine moved back to Detroit to teach in the city for that very thing. He loves Detroit. He claims it and wants it to be home and wants to make it better, and we believe y'all are bringing that same energy right here to the city. Jim, you've got question number 2?
Yes, our next Twitter question comes from Kevin Adelsberger, and his question is, who is the coolest co-member?
Loaded question.
Kevin would probably like us to say him since he is a co-member, but I feel like I have to recuse myself from this because I'm not able to pick favorites. So I would say Dan Drogosh is the coolest co-member.
The question did say co-member, and I'm an employee.
Yeah.
Here, so if
Technicality.
we had to pick co-members, who would I choose?
Let's just rank them all now.
Them all. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Austin,
That's a great idea. I will now put them in alphabetical order.
What I can say is that I think of the members we do have here now, it has been nothing but a pleasure to work with all of them. It makes me excited to come to work every day and help these people out in their own endeavors, and meanwhile carving my own pathway too. I enjoy it quite a bit.
I've got an answer to this, actually. I think that the coolest co-member is the one that is listening right now that hasn't joined yet. That's going to come down here and sign up, and then the very next person that comes in and signs up for the co and says that they heard about it on this podcast, well, then we'll make a little laser plaque for them that says they're the coolest co-member, and then they can Indian leg wrestle Kevin for it.
Don't pass this up.
So I've got this professor who's an EU scholar, right? And he's all about cooperative capitalism. That's his title that he always used. And to be honest, on a very micro level, I see the macro conversation about cooperative capitalism really happening here. It's folks are pursuing their own business endeavors, but it's a real community behind it. It's a special thing that you're really fostering here. All right, this is from Matt Altabell, a former guest of our Jackson Home, JDDC leader, and he's got 2 different questions. One, when you all were conceiving the website, who spoke up and said that it had to be a prepositional phrase?
Oh, at the co?
Yes.
Yeah.
We spent 12 minutes with Matt trying to get his Twitter handle down, and then it just became JDDC Matt, right? So this is an obsessive question for us all.
Yes. Well, the quick answer to that is theco.com was taken. So one of the ideas that we had was that we've got kind of 4 things that the co is known for. One of them is the co-working space, one's the maker space, one's coding, and then one is entrepreneurs. And so we were thinking it could be cool if we created subdomains. I'm going to get a little nerdy here of work.attheco.com or code.attheco.com. So that was at least part of the thought behind it. But the emails, when you say the emails out loud, it does get a little weird, saying you can contact me at william@attheco.com. You can't say at the co. It sounds like I stuttered or something.
See there, you have to clarify which at is the at symbol.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
But this goes back to your amazing answer earlier about beauty's worthless without functionality. Is something I've really noticed from being a member here recently is there's an amazing amount of thought behind everything that you're doing, which if there's, among the many contributions that you're making to the city, it's that there can be layers of thought before something is even presented, and that you are actually putting thought into something before it ever even is presented. And so I really appreciate that about y'all, that there seems to be a lot of nuance into every single thing that you present.
Well, there's a lot of thought that goes into it before we present it, but at the same time, there's also a tremendous amount of iteration. So we put something out there, and if it doesn't work, then we don't want to be scared to put something out there for fear that we might not have it 100% right. We know that we're not going to have it right. So the only way that you can get feedback on how to see if it's going to work or not is put it out there, and go and talk to anybody from San Francisco, and you'll hear them talking about fail fast, wow. and then iterate. And so those are the kind of things that we're doing here at the Co. And those are the kind of ideas and kind of shifts in thinking that we want to bring to Jackson, Tennessee, too.
Which brings me to my favorite quote of January 25th. 2015. Is it 2015? Which is from Amy Poehler, and she says, "I'm tired of people who just want to critique, who want to sit around and complain about what others are doing. I'm ready to be around people who are doing things." And that's what I love. Put thought into it, but don't be the person who's privately obsessing about what one day you will do. Actually get out there and start iterating, if you will. Jim, you got a question?
Yes. Also, there's a second question here from Matt Altabell that I think is very cool. And if you guys want to hear the Matt Altabell interview, all our episodes are up on iTunes. You can go and check that out. But his question is, better film, Citizen Kane or City Slickers 2, The Legend of Curly's Gold?
Wow, I mean, how do you pick between your two? It's like Sophie's Choice all over again.
Well, there's a similarity. Both have the throaty, raspy lead guys. You have Jack Palance and City Slickers, and you have Rosebud and Citizen Kane, so there's similarities. One involves snow, one involves sand, one involves a sled, other involves cattle. I mean, there's all sorts of similarities.
I think those were differences at the end.
Yes.
Wait, this is not a rhetorical question?
No, he actually wants to know, what do you think is the better film, Citizen Kane or City Slickers 2?
Okay, Dan and I are going to paper, rock, scissors right now to determine a winner. So, here's Citizen Kane.
Paper and stone. Who?
Curly's Gold.
Curly's Gold is the official winner, so go out and rent it today.
Well, let's close. We really just want to bribe them. There's like 20 questions we still have to talk to both of you about. But let's kind of close with a musical note, if we can. Dan, talk to us about your band. Did y'all all move from Michigan together?
No. So myself and my best friend, since I can remember, Zach, we have been playing guitar side by side together for probably over 13 years now. And it sounds long to me, but man, has it been just an awesome journey. Started out playing acoustic, and he actually... He got up in front of our middle school class way back when, and he is what inspired me to pick up my guitar and start playing, and we've been best friends ever since. Well, did the whole college thing, graduated from separate universities about an hour away from each other, and then when it came time to really making that life decision of what do we got to do in life, he took a job down here with Owens Corning, and then he's like, look, we're close to Nashville and Memphis. These are some of the two biggest music cities in the world. We got to make this work. I'm like, then the pressure is on me. At the time, I was looking for a job back in Michigan or wherever I could find one. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking a leap of faith here. I'm moving down, and I can make things work. And sure enough, a few months later, found a job with the Co here. But in the meantime, we work extremely hard making moves for music that we love playing. And as a matter of fact, I was mentioning earlier, in the 2 years we've been down here, we have managed to meet some great connections that I just never thought would ever happen. And a few of them happen to be previous managers of the band Creed. I think many people know who that band is, and currently just signed our first distribution deal for one of the songs we recorded, which will be airing on radios around the South in a few weeks here shortly, which I am so excited to hear about. And who knows where we can go from there? But it's just to the people out there that are really striving for something like this to happen, it's all about how much time you put into it and just setting goals. And that goes for any business like Williams. He is the biggest goal setter I've ever seen. He's got sticky notes everywhere around this place with goals on them. But no, it takes a lot of dedication, hard work, and just perseverance. I mean, some of these guys never responded about 6 of our emails, and finally the 7th one, they're like, all right. Either they caved or they just got fed up with us and told us to back off. But no, we held true to what we believed in, spent the money that it took to make a quality product, and before we knew it, we had a song we could pull with, so to say. But now excited. Look, 2015 is going to be a great year for us, and couldn't be happier.
So I wake up this morning and I get on Twitter on my phone as I'm stumbling around the house, and I see this tweet that's a make-up email conversation, a missed email or something, or maybe an unsent email that William has composed a song and has sent it out via @sodiumhalogen is where you can find him on Twitter. And so I click on it this afternoon, and my gosh, you have vocals. You are good. What's do you have a musical past?
Yeah, my wife and I did. Well, thank you. My wife and I did music full time for about 8 years right out of college, and then kind of shifted from that, from kind of being musically creative to being visually creative, and so that's kind of what got me into doing web design and the stuff that I'm doing today. So yeah, I still love music, still enjoy playing, and this is kind of a quirky way for me to kind of combine the two passions together. So I've written several little quirky ditties for potential, jingles is a word, for potential customers and existing customers and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of a differentiator.
And how do we find your company on the web? What should we Google, or where should we go? Sodiumhalogen.com?
Yes, that's it.
And that is SODIUMHALOGEN. And Dan's band, who will be on the podcast soon, right? I'm pressuring you on. Mutual Live. They are loud and raucous and fun.
Southern rock at its finest.
That's exactly right. Well, thank y'all so much for your work here, for opening the co-op and sharing it with us all. We're so thankful for it. And thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Our Jackson Home. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey guys, we're here at the Co in Jackson, Tennessee with a couple of other great guests. We've got Lisa Garner and we've got Ben Harris. Welcome to Our Jackson Home, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Excellent. Now, tell us what you guys do here at the Co.
All right, so my title is Director of Operations, which sounds, who knows what that wouldn't tell someone that I do, but really all different things. So I plan a lot of the events that we have here and do quite a bit of the design work, upkeep the website, do some accounting, I manage our grant, all sorts of fun things.
So I'm the COO for whatever that means, so there's lots of C's and O's there. I kind of by default have gotten to head up the makerspace, done lots of work with the CNC router, which came in lots of little bitty boxes and had to be put together, as well as 3D printing and the laser etcher cutter, just kind of figuring those things out.
So Ben, when did your involvement begin with the Co, and where did this idea come from, and how did a makerspace come to be and you become a leader of that? Where does it all come from?
Well, the 5 co-founders, we actually just started having Taco Thursday at Tulum, and the more we met and just kind of learned from each other and had a real collaborative feel with each other, and we just started learning a lot from each other. And so Ben Ferguson mainly started trying to get us all to put this thing together, and that's basically how it started.
Very cool. And what have been some of the things you've seen the spaces used for? We talked a little bit with William and Dan about what the space actually looks like and how people can join and be members. What are y'all using it for right now, and what's kind of the dream as things go on? What's some things you'd love to see be created here?
So right now it's been being used as a co-working space, a maker space, a dedicated office space for some folks, and the event facility. It's really what we're hoping is just to get it out there and let it morph into whatever it becomes, whatever the members want, whatever's useful for them. Our ears are open, and really it's here for them. So whatever they need is what we hope to turn it into.
Well, this is a more kind of broad, general Jackson question. Ben, you're from West Tennessee originally?
From Lexington originally.
From Lexington. So what kind of has brought you to Jackson and kept you in Jackson? And then we'll go to Lisa with that question, who's a Wisconsinian originally, right?
Wisconsinite.
Wisconsinite. How did you get to stay in Jackson and get to the Co? And we'll talk a little bit about some of your other business endeavors. So Ben, why are you in Jackson?
So I moved away for college, got married, moved to Nashville for a little while, wanted to get closer to family and friends and all of that. So couldn't really see myself going back to Lexington. Jackson was the big city, I guess, near where home was, so it just made a lot of sense to be here.
Okay, so I went to Union, and that's how I actually got to Jackson from Wisconsin. And then really, like, I worked in admissions at Union, and I worked with a real estate agent here in Jackson. But I think for the most part, the reason that I ended up staying was just the people that I met here. Connected with a church, which, you know, you and Jim and Luke are members of, and just really loved the people and formed a pretty great community here. And so that's for the most part why we are still here. Yeah.
There are about 40 questions I want to ask y'all both about kind of endeavors you've been a part of and things you've done. Lisa has a remarkable gift at not only being a creative herself, but actually organizing creatives. There's a thing called Food for All that we'd love to talk to you about one day on our Jackson home. It's probably too loaded to get into now, but speak a little bit about Garner Blue, which is, it's been covered by the Jackson Sun, and you've done a lot of neat things with here.
Yeah, Garner Blue is my company. It's hand-dyed indigo textiles and accessories. And so I am actually creating different patterns with indigo. It's a natural dye. I'm doing scarves, earrings, throw pillows, so many different things, and the consistent factor is indigo. So it started really just with me being interested in learning more about dyeing with indigo, and then it's turned into a good bit more, and something that I've been doing for about a year, and I'm just kind of excited to see where Garner Blue continues to go. So another part that is a little bit separate from Garner Blue, but that has to do with organizing creatives, are planning pop-up shops for several local artisans. So pop-up shops are just temporary shops that the goal is to do maybe 3 to 4 times per year. We actually have another one coming up February 7th that will be at Alba Coffee. There's a little plug. But so I just love encouraging the creative spirit in people, and so I think the pop-up shops are one way that I can do that. I can help these people get this together, and they can sell what they're doing and really be able to make their craft a bit more sustainable.
Quick, someone trademarked the phrase encouraging. What was that phrase you used? I love that. Encouraging creativity.
I don't even know what I just said.
That was good. Hey, play that back and trademark it fast.
Ben, now I've noticed from our research of you that you've worked in the restaurant, property management, and aircraft industries. Now, how adaptable does, say, an entrepreneur need to be if they're working with different kinds of businesses? Are there any core techniques that they need to foster regardless of really which industry that they're in?
I think the bottom line is love what you're doing, keep learning.
Can definitely see that, and I can see where the balance is tricky. That's kind of one of the questions that we had here, and we talked a little bit to William about earlier, is the balance between functionality and creativity, and within your own life, the balance between being a business person, someone balancing family, art, and it's neat to see the attempting to and actually becoming a place that can merge those things in a lot of ways. Something I see it becoming for a lot of people that use it is a space that can actually be friendly to their lives, which are constantly spilling over into work and family and community and those things. So we're going back to Twitter. We've got a bunch of questions lined up here. Which one to attack first? This is kind of similar to the first question we asked earlier. It's from Ben Williams at BW Creative, our second guest ever on our Jackson home. He says, what will it take for Jackson to compete with job markets in larger cities in the Southeast? Heavy. He also says, same tweet twice. What will it take for Jackson to compete with job markets in larger cities in the Southeast? We talked earlier in the podcast about Chattanooga's amazing development the last 20 years and how it was kind of the strip mall town in the early 80s, and now it's become a tech hub in East Tennessee. So how do you see Jackson progressing economically?
As we've done more of the thinking through the coding and that sort of thing for the schools, the statistic that keeps popping up is that that industry is growing somewhere around 359% each year, and it's going to see explosive growth. But at the same time, there's such a shortage for them, especially in this area. That what we hope to do is see these folks and these kids in high school start to learn it like a second language, so that they can then expand and go into their own specialties. Because ultimately, getting away from things like manufacturing and what's been the core jobs for Jackson is what we're going to have to figure out.
A question that came from the prettiest girl in Jackson, Tennessee, aka my wife, April Pruitt, kind of balances off what you were just talking about. And something you've been a part of is these coding classes in local schools. And so her question is, do you offer coding classes at the Co or just through the school system?
We have a partnership with a company called Treehouse that is online learning of programming. And honestly, I feel like they can do a better job of teaching folks than we ever could, because they have such a diverse set of classes that you can take. And if someone, like I said earlier, comes up with their specialty, decides that, hey, I'm a graphic design guru or a database guru, they have the tools so that they can kind of go down those avenues of specialty and as well learn all of the basics to get a better handle on what it is that they want to do.
Matt Altobel, the mad genius behind a lot of things going on downtown in Jackson, and also bombing our Twitter account right now. I think the answer to his question, is there a commanding officer? If so, is he or she referred to as the CO informally, the CO of the Co? I think that answers you after your earlier introduction of your job titles. You're the CO of the Co.
Well, I'm the COO, but Ferguson's the CEO. So honestly, I think if there was going to be a one person is the boss, it would definitely have to be Lisa.
No,
and maybe we'll call her the Colonel or something like that.
Well played. All right, we're back to favorites here. Kevin and Austin. Austin has established that he is the favorite co-member. And a specific question.
It would be a close tie between Kevin and Austin.
That was from Austin Thompson. Kevin Adelsberger directly asked of Lisa, who's your favorite Ben? Harris or Ferguson?
They both have different talents and different things that they add to the table. So I like both Bens equally.
Answer the question. No.
Now's the time.
Now, something that any artistic person realizes is they have to spend a good amount of time honing their craft, whatever that happens to be, and they also have to do things that are non-artistic, like an actor has to know how to market themselves, how to promote themselves, in addition to working on their line readings, their audition skills. How do you, as an artist in fabrics, find time to hone both sides of the craft that you need?
So time, that's, kind of elusive. But one of the practical things that has helped me is actually a program that we offer here at the Co. It's called Co-Starters. It's a 9-week business program. And really it came out of Chattanooga, and it was created for creative business owners. So it's a business program that's helping you think about business structure and, how do you market? How do you develop a relationship with your customer? How do you do all these business type things that artisans and creatives are sort of freaked out by? And it puts it in a really manageable way to learn more about it. And so being a part of Co-Starters has been really helpful for me to take myself a bit away from the craft of dyeing and making and think more about business and structure. And even to think about, when I started the class, I was even asking myself, is Garner Blue just a hobby, and is it okay that it's just a hobby, to now thinking it's okay that Garner Blue is actually maybe more sustainable for me and I can make money from it, and that's okay, and it's still a craft and it's still an art. So the class has been really encouraging for me. We'll offer it again in the spring. So good at commercials I am. So good at it.
Well done. Lisa, take us through real quick the events that people could be a part of as co-members or as visitors.
Okay, so we have Tuesdays at the Co. Those are basically every Tuesday there's something going on here. The first Tuesday of the month is the Makers Collective. That's for people that are makers, builders, tinkerers, and this is Tuesday at 5 p.m. The second Tuesday of the month is called Code, and that's for your technology folks, your programmers. That group is still kind of building and deciding what they're going to focus on, but that's also Tuesday at 5. The third Tuesday of the month is, did I mix them up? I might have mixed them up. Collaborate could be the second Tuesday. Check our website. Okay.
Which is?
So it's at theco.com, ATTHECO.com. The third Tuesday, so whichever, is Collaborate, and that is more for business owners to just think about all different business concepts that can help push your business forward. The fourth Tuesday, we actually have two. In the morning, we have AM Creative, which is my favorite of all the meetups because I helped plan that one, and it's just meant to be an encouraging place for people that define themselves as creative in the community. So each week, we hear from one different creative person on whatever their project is, and just get to mingle with each other and kind of hear what you're making and what you're doing. The fifth one is the Co-Conspirators, and that actually developed out of the Makers Collective. That's more of the makers still, but they're doing white hat hacks, and Ben really could explain that one better because that's kind of his ballpark. So those are Tuesdays at the Co. We've got workshops going on right now. We started last night, the photography workshop. Next Saturday, we'll do our Bringing Home the Bacon. It's a tax workshop for freelancers, new businesses. There's several different workshops. We're offering a 3D printing one, typography and hand lettering, and innovation in business. And we'll also offer more workshops in the spring. So those are the main things that are happening right now.
Ooh.
It's a lot, guys. It's a lot.
It is a lot. It feels like you're the university of the future almost. But it's so cool what y'all are doing. Thanks for doing what others are unwilling to do, Ben, to use your definition of an entrepreneur earlier. Thanks for forging the way of creating a space and ideas and places for people to come together and think and create together and do business. Thanks for being with us this afternoon, Lisa and Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, you're listening to Between the Tennessee and Mississippi Rivers. It's our Jackson home.